My girlfriend told me to be a man and babysit her sister's demon kids every weekend, so I left. Hi, I'm Mason, 27, and 3 weeks ago my girlfriend looked me dead in the eyes and told me, be a man and babysit my sister's demon children every weekend, or get out. So I got out. Let me rewind to the exact moment my sanity snapped. It was a Thursday night. I just worked a 10-hour day, crawled home to my condo, and collapsed on the couch with the kind of exhaustion that makes you question your life choices. My girlfriend, Leah, 25, gorgeous, funny when she wants to be, and oblivious 100% of the time, was scrolling TikTok, legs draped over mine like normal. Things had been decent between us. She'd moved into my place 8 months earlier. Rent-free. Drove my old Honda because her car died. Used my health insurance. I even paid off $1,200 of her credit card bill last month because she was too stressed to deal with it. I didn't mind helping. I actually thought it made me a good partner. Then her sister moved back to town. With 3 kids who, and I say this with clinical precision, behave like escaped raccoons that learned English. Ages 3, 5, and 7. But spiritually? All 7. Last time they came over, the oldest launched a remote at my TV like it was a hand grenade. The middle one thinks my walls are a coloring book. The 3-year-old just screams for joy, like a fire alarm that got bored. But that Thursday, out of nowhere, Leah paused her video, turned to me very seriously, and said, "So, my sister needs you to watch the kids every Saturday and Sunday from now on." I blinked. Thought she was joking. Truly. I laughed, the small confused kind. Leah didn't laugh. "They want to go clubbing on weekends," she added. "They need their social life back." I sat up, slow, like a man realizing he stepped on a landmine. "Leah, I'm not babysitting your sister's kids every weekend." Her face went cold. Like freezer burned cold. "You're off weekends," she said. "You're just sitting around anyway." "Yeah, in my own home. Because I work 50 hours a week. It's only 2 days. Step up. Be a man." "Oh, so that was the grenade." "They're not my family," I said. "We're not even engaged." That's when she threw the ultimatum. Clean as a knife. "If you can't do this one thing for me, for my family, then maybe you need to rethink if you're even ready for a real relationship. Step up or get out." And something in me snapped. Quietly. Peacefully. Like a door clicking shut. I stared at this woman who I'd supported for nearly a year and said, "Then I'm out." Her jaw unhinged like a puppet. "What? You heard me. I'm not doing it. You gave me a choice. I chose." She stood up, finger pointed, furious. "You're going to regret this." "Cool," I said. "Start packing. You've got until Sunday." Then I locked the bedroom door behind me while she called her sister to scream about what a monster I was. If only I knew that was the calm part. Because what came next, the sister showing up at my door with the kids, her mom calling me names, her dad trying to intimidate me at work, the car situation, the escalation, yeah? That was when things got properly insane. And that insanity starts, next. The next morning, I learned that ultimatums have cousins, entitlement and delusion, and both of them showed up at my front door at 7 a.m. I was half dressed for work, tying my shoes, when someone started pounding like they were trying to break down the gates of Mordor. I opened the door, and there stood Leah's sister, Danielle, holding all 3 demon spawn like she was delivering a package I never ordered. Behind her, the 7-year-old sprinted in place like he was charging up for destruction. The 5-year-old had a marker already uncapped. The 3-year-old was screaming like he just lost custody of his own voice. Danielle didn't even say hello. "You need to watch them today." I blinked so slowly I might have slipped into another dimension. "Why would I watch them today?" "Because," she said, pushing the stroller forward like she was presenting evidence, "my boyfriend and I are going to look at apartments." "That sounds like your problem," I said. "Not mine." She rolled her eyes. "Leah told me you two had a fight. You'll work it out. Just take them for the day." I laughed. Not a happy laugh. A laugh you make when you realize humanity has no future. "No. And also, no." She tried to force the stroller past me. "Danielle," I said, blocking her. "Your sister doesn't live here anymore." "She will," Danielle shot back. "She just needs time to cool off. She has until Sunday. Then her stuff goes to Goodwill." That's when Danielle stuck her foot in the door. Her actual foot. Like she rehearsed this. You're seriously refusing to help family? She barked. We're not family, I said. And even if we were, family doesn't volunteer someone for free childcare. They're just kids. At that exact moment, the 7-year-old attempted to bolt into my condo. I blocked him with the reflexes of a man who's dodged thrown remotes before. Nope. Not happening. Danielle scooped him up, glaring at me like I'd kicked a puppy. You're an idiot. My sister deserves better. She had better, I said calmly. Until she demanded I be her sister's babysitter. Then I shut the door. Locked it. Through the wood I heard her yell for another minute, then stomp away, dragging the demons back to whatever cave they originated from. I grabbed my bag, paused, and texted Leah. Me, your sister tried to drop the kids at my place. Don't send people here. Leah, you're being ridiculous. This is why we're having problems. Me, we're not having problems. We're broken up. Get your stuff by Sunday. No reply. At work, I tried to focus, but my phone kept buzzing with unknown numbers. Her mom, her sister again, random family members, all taking turns telling me how men provide, and real partners sacrifice. Fascinating opinion from people who hadn't sacrificed a single minute of babysitting for Danielle. By Saturday morning, I'd had enough. I called the locksmith. $220. Installed new deadbolt. Changed the garage code. Told building management. My ex is no longer a resident. Don't let her up. They nodded like they'd seen far worse. I believed them. By Sunday, I had all of Leah's stuff packed, every pillow she bought, every candle she never lit, the yoga mat she used exactly once. All in boxes. At 10 a.m., building security buzzed me. Your ex, her sister, and their mother are here. Fantastic. A family reunion. In hell. I let them up but blocked the entrance to my condo like a bouncer at a club with very strict standards. Boxes are here, I said. Take them. Her mom immediately launched into a speech like she practiced in the car. Young man, you can't just throw her out. I didn't throw her out. She gave me an ultimatum. I made a choice. Leah's eyes were red. I almost felt bad. Then Danielle opened her mouth. This is insane, she snapped. All she asked was a little help with the kids. She demanded I babysit every weekend indefinitely. That's not a little help. That's slavery. They're kids, she shrieked. Kids who cost me a TV, a wall repaint, and 10% of my mental health. Her mom tried reasoning next. You don't throw away 2 years over babysitting. She threw it away, I said. I simply opened the door. Leah spoke finally, voice soft, almost pleading. Can we please talk alone? Nope. We can talk right here. In front of the people who encouraged your ultimatum. Danielle stepped forward like a linebacker. A real man would. I cut her off. A real man has boundaries. Your turn to finish that sentence. She didn't. I placed the final stack of boxes in the hallway. You've got until 6. Anything left goes to donation. They grabbed everything in 3 angry, dramatic trips, muttering the entire time about how I'd never find someone as good as Leah. On the last trip, Leah tried again. I can't believe you're doing this, she whispered. Over something so stupid. It wasn't stupid to you, I said. You threatened our relationship over it. I simply accepted what you told me. You didn't mean it, she said. You didn't think I'd choose myself. I corrected. Then she left. I shut the door. Locked it. Double-checked the windows, because at this point I wasn't ruling out a Mission Impossible re-entry. Then I found one of her hair straighteners in the bathroom. Plopped it in a box. Left it in the hall with a sticky note. You forgot this. And for the first time in months, my home was quiet. Like a weight had fallen off my chest. But that peace lasted only 2 days. Because the next week? That's when the real insanity started. I knew the breakup drama wasn't over. But I didn't expect the Venmo attacks, the car hostage situation, and the father-in-law from hell phone call all to hit in the same week. It started Monday morning with a buzz on my phone. A Venmo request. From Danielle. For $400. The note read. Child care fees you would have paid. I stared at it like it was a glitch in reality. Declined. Added my own note. That's not how anything works. 10 minutes later, another request. This time $600. Note. Emotional distress. Declined. Blocked her on Venmo. I felt like I just swatted a mosquito carrying rabies. But the next hit came even faster. Tuesday, Leah called me 23 times. From different numbers. By the time I answered, I was already tired. You need to stop ignoring me, she said. We need to talk about the car. Ah. The Honda. My old Civic. I'd let her drive for 8 months because hers died. Title? Mine. Insurance? Mine. Registration? Mine. She'd been promising she'd buy it off me for $3,500. So talk, I said. I need it for work. Then buy it. You said you would. I don't have $3,500. And I don't have a girlfriend. So, Mason, don't be an ass. Bring the car back by Friday or I report it stolen. Stolen? You can't report it stolen. I've been driving it for months. And I'm revoking permission. Friday, 5 p.m. Don't test me. She called back 14 more times. I blocked every number. But Wednesday brought a fresh hell. An unknown number rang. I answered. A man's voice stern. This is Leah's father. We need to talk about your behavior. Oh, wonderful. An intervention from someone I've never wronged. What behavior? I asked. You owe Leah an apology. For what? For abandoning her. For humiliating her. For. I hung up. He called back. I let it go to voicemail. The message was 2 minutes of pure testosterone and delusion about respect, being a man, and his daughter deserving better. I deleted it. Smiled. Went about my day. But Thursday? That's when things escalated into comedy. Danielle showed up at my building again. Front desk called me. She's demanding entry. Says you're preventing her from seeing her sister? She does not have permission to come up. I said calmly. If she causes trouble, call security. Apparently she did cause trouble, a full-volume meltdown in the lobby. Security escorted her out. Oh, and then she posted a Facebook rant about how I stole her sister's life. And how I was emotionally abusive. I didn't respond. But I screenshotted everything. Just in case. Friday at 3 p.m. Leah texted from yet another number. I can't bring the car today. Need more time. 5 p.m. I replied. Not negotiable. You're being unreasonable. You're being irresponsible. I need transportation. Uber exists. What if I can't make it? Then at 5:01, I call the police and report it stolen. You wouldn't. Try me. Silence. Then at 4:57, the Honda pulled into my building's garage. She parked crooked, jumped out, and threw the keys at me. They hit the concrete with a sad little jingle. You're an absolute monster. She spat. Keys on the ring. I said. Have a safe walk home. She stood there, eyes glossy, like she was waiting for something. Maybe an apology, maybe a reconciliation, maybe magic. Mason, can we please talk? Really talk? No. You're just throwing away 2 years. No, I said. You threw them away when you gave me a choice. I simply took the door marked self-respect. She bit her lip, tears spilling. I miss you, she said quietly. I miss us. I don't miss you plus your sister's kids every weekend. That's not fair. It's reality. She wiped her face. You won't even compromise? Maybe just some weekends? 0 weekends, I said. 0 kids. 0 obligations. 0 ultimatums. She looked crushed. But I didn't feel triumph. I felt nothing. And that's how I knew it was really, truly over. I got into the Civic, started the engine, and drove it straight to a dealership. Scheduled a full mechanical check. Scheduled detailing. Got it ready for sale. But the real explosion, the moment everything truly snapped, was waiting for me back at home. Because when I walked into my condo, there was an envelope slid under my door. From Leah's dad. Inside was a 3-page letter accusing me of abandoning family, refusing my responsibilities as a man, being financially manipulative, weaponizing boundaries. Weaponizing boundaries. A phrase only a toxic family could invent. At the bottom? A threat. If you do not apologize and reconcile with my daughter, we will take further action. I laughed. Out loud. Alone. In my empty condo. Because that letter? That was the moment I realized something important. This wasn't just Leah. This was the entire family system. And I had escaped all of them. But they weren't done with me yet. That's when they tried to drag me back in. And failed spectacularly. By week 2, their entitlement evolved into a full-blown group project, like a toxic family Avengers assembling for one mission: drag Mason back into servitude. Spoiler, they failed. Spectacularly. It started Saturday morning. I went to my regular coffee shop, the quiet one with the mismatched chairs and the barista who always spells my name, Mason, for reasons unknown. I was sipping my drink, finally relaxing, when someone plopped into the seat across from me. Danielle. No greeting. No smile. Just fury. We need to talk. We don't, I said, not looking up. She leaned in like she thought intimidation worked on me. You ruined my sister's life. Your sister's life is her responsibility, I said. Not mine. She's depressed. Barely eating. This is your fault. It's not my fault she issued an ultimatum she couldn't back up. Danielle scoffed. You're unbelievable. You could fix this with one apology. I laughed once. A single, sharp, incredulous sound. For what? I asked. Having boundaries? For being selfish. I paused. Then I asked the question that cracked her mask. Where are your kids right now, Danielle? She blinked. Hard. My boyfriend's watching them. Why? Oh. So he can watch them. Interesting. Because the last time we spoke, you said he shouldn't have to since he's not their dad. That's different. How? Because we live together. And I didn't live with you or your kids. That's not the same. It's identical. I said. You wanted free childcare. I said no. End of story. She pressed her lips together so hard they practically vanished. You're twisting everything. She snapped. No. I said. I'm telling you the obvious truth you don't want to hear. She stared at me, fists clenched. My sister loved you. She said finally, voice sharp. No. I said. She loved the idea of a boyfriend who would babysit your kids every weekend. When I didn't, she chose the ultimatum. That's not love. Danielle stood so abruptly her chair screeched. You'll regret this. Probably less than your boyfriend regrets saying yes to Saturday mornings. I said. She stormed off, nearly tripping on a stroller someone left near the counter. I sipped my coffee and enjoyed the quiet. But peace has a short lifespan around that family. 2 days later, my email pinged. Subject: Hey man. From a name I didn't recognize. I opened it. Turns out, Leah's younger brother, Chris, 19, awkward, quiet, the only one in that family with a functioning moral compass, was reaching out. Hey man. Just wanted to say sorry for how my family's been acting. My sister told me everything, the real version, not the one Dad's parroting. The ultimatum thing? Yeah, messed up. And the babysitting demand? Yeah, Danielle does this to everyone. You dodged a bullet. Good luck. I sat there staring at the screen. An apology. From the only sane one among them. I replied simply. Thanks for reaching out. But the real turning point came 2 days later. I walked into the grocery store after work. Grabbed a basket. Turned down the produce aisle. And there she was. Leah. With some guy. Not her sister's boyfriend, this one was new. Taller than me. Wearing a gym tank top in January. One of those men who flex while breathing. She saw me first. Her eyes widened. Then she looked away fast, like she'd been caught stealing library books. The guy kept talking, oblivious, laughing at something on his phone. She walked past me without a word. And as she did, something clicked in my chest. Nothing. No pain. No longing. No nostalgia. Just absolute emotional silence. Like a bell that finally stopped ringing. That's when I realized. I'd officially moved on. I didn't need closure. I didn't need an apology. I didn't need her to understand. I didn't need anything from any of them. For the first time in years, my life was quiet. Peaceful. Mine again. I went home, cooked dinner, watched a movie, and listened to the sound of nothing. It was beautiful. But life wasn't done improving. Because the next part? Not into chaos. But into my comeback arc. And Leah's family? They're about to realize I'm not the one who lost something. They are. You'd think after the grocery store incident, things would quiet down. Nope. Leah's family had one last trick up their sleeve. A final attempt to guilt, intimidate, or shame me into crawling back. But instead, the universe gave me something else. Perspective. Freedom. And a life that actually started moving forward. It began the next morning. I woke up to sunshine blasting through the blinds, one of those mornings where the world feels cleaner than it should. I made coffee, sat on my couch, and realized something incredible. I didn't have to worry about babysitting. I didn't have to worry about someone exploding over a boundary. I didn't have to worry about a grown woman texting me paragraphs about how her sister was emotionally collapsing. My weekend, the whole thing, belonged entirely to me. And God, it felt good. Then, right as I settled into that warm peace, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I opened it. It was Danielle. Of course. One last attempt at the spotlight. The message said, "Hope you're happy. My sister's moving on. She found someone better." I stared at the text for a moment, then replied, "Good for her." And I meant it. Not sarcastically. Not bitterly. Not triumphantly. Because honestly, her moving on meant she was finally leaving me alone. I hit send. Put the phone down. Went back to my coffee. Peace restored. Over the next 2 weeks, something strange happened. My life improved. Quietly. Gradually. Almost suspiciously smoothly. I fixed my squeaky screen door. Repaired a loose cabinet hinge. Finally repainted the spare room. Actually slept 8 hours a night. It was like removing Leah and her family from my life cleared up 30% of my brain. And there was another benefit I hadn't fully realized. Financial freedom. Leah had been living rent-free for the better part of a year. I'd been paying her phone bill, her car insurance, groceries, streaming services, random emergencies, the occasional credit card cleanup, and the emotional tax of her entire family's expectations. All that added up to nearly $800 a month. I didn't even realize I was bleeding. Now, that money stayed with me. I checked my account at the end of the month and actually double-took. I felt rich. Not rich, but not subsidizing someone else's family drama. Rich. Then came the car situation. After I took the Honda back, I had it detailed, tuned up, and checked over by a mechanic. I listed it for sale. 2 days later, a guy offered me $4,200. $700 more than I offered it to Leah for. I took the deal without hesitation. Sold it. Paid off the TV her nephew cracked. Pocketed the rest. It felt like poetic financial justice. And then, because the universe has a sense of humor, I got a text from Leah's younger brother Chris again. A simple one this time. "I'm glad you're doing okay. You deserve better than the way my family treated you." You know what? That landed. Because Chris didn't have to send that. He didn't owe me anything. But he saw what was happening. He lived in the same circus. He just wasn't one of the clowns. I texted back. "Thanks. You're a good kid," he replied. "Don't tell anyone." That made me laugh. At this point, I thought everything had settled. That I'd reached a boring, steady, post-breakup plateau where nothing dramatic happens. But then, 2 weeks after everything went down, I got a call from my buddy Aaron. He said, "Hey man, weird question. Did you know Leah's family is telling people you abandoned her while she was pregnant?" I nearly dropped my phone. "What? She's not pregnant." That's why I said weird question. Leave it to that family. When reality doesn't support their narrative, they just invent a new one. But I didn't engage. Didn't fight back. Didn't correct them. Why? Because the moment I respond, I'm back in the circus. And I don't do circuses anymore. Instead, I focused on the good. My life was stabilizing. My home felt like a sanctuary again. I was actually enjoying my weekends. I wasn't hemorrhaging money into a sinkhole of entitlement. But the real moment everything shifted? The real leveling up point? Came from a completely unexpected place. Someone I hadn't spoken to since the breakup. Someone who, without knowing it, was about to kickstart an entirely new chapter of my life. And she sent exactly 7 words that changed everything. Part 6 is where the story expands. Beyond the breakup, beyond the chaos. Into something actually good. Something I didn't expect. And definitely something Leah's family wasn't prepared for. I wasn't expecting my life to expand. Honestly, I thought the breakup would just fade into background noise. Quiet, dull, uneventful. Instead, everything accelerated. And it all started with 7 words. A text from someone I hadn't spoken to in months. "Hey, are you still doing freelance?" It was from Jenna, a graphic designer I used to collaborate with before Leah slowly absorbed all my free time like a swamp monster wearing lip gloss. Jenna and I weren't close, but we were always friendly. We'd worked on a few branding projects together, grabbed coffee a handful of times, joked around like normal human beings. "I hadn't seen her since last spring," I replied. "Yeah. Why?" She sent a long message explaining how her tech startup client needed someone to overhaul their UI and system architecture. Immediately. Paid well. Flexible schedule. Remote work. My exact skill set. I almost laughed out loud. Because for months I'd been telling Leah I wanted to pick up freelance again. Make extra money, build my portfolio, maybe even start something bigger. She would always say, "You already work too much. Weekends should be for family." Spoiler, she meant her family. But now, weekends were mine again. I told Jenna I was interested. She sent over the contract that same night. And that's when the moment hit me. This breakup didn't just free me from Leah. It freed me from limitations I didn't even know I accepted. I took the project. Jumped in. And for the first time in a long time, I felt energized. Not drained. Not pressured. Not guilt-tripped. Just alive. The funny thing? Success started snowballing. Jenna's client recommended me to another company. Then another. Within 3 weeks, I'd gotten so many inquiries I actually had to turn some down. I hadn't felt that valuable. Or that competent. In years. And with the extra income and the $800 I wasn't bleeding every month, I finally upgraded parts of my life I'd been neglecting. A new desk chair. A laptop that didn't scream like a tractor. Noise-canceling headphones. Adult cookware that didn't wobble. A gym membership I actually used. Small things. But they mattered. My place felt like mine again. My time felt like mine again. My identity felt like mine again. Then came the strange, almost poetic twist. A week into the new freelance job, Jenna asked if I could stop by her studio to look at some wireframes in person. Her studio was in this converted warehouse. Old brick, tall windows, plants everywhere like some kind of botanical gangster had taken over. And when I walked in, I saw her at her desk, hair tied up, headphones on, bobbing her head to music I couldn't hear. She looked up, smiled, and said, "Mason! You're alive." "Barely," I joked. We dove into the project. Brainstorming, scribbling ideas, vibing creatively in a way I hadn't done in ages. And at one point, mid-discussion, she paused and said, "You look different." "Different how?" I asked. "Lighter," she said. "Like someone cut a weight off your chest." I didn't know what to say. Because she wasn't wrong. We wrapped up 2 hours later, and she walked me out to the parking lot. Before I reached my car, she stopped me. "Hey," she said, almost shyly. "Some of us are grabbing drinks Friday. You should come." I blinked. "Me?" "Yes, you." She laughed. "Unless you're booked babysitting?" Her eyes sparkled with mischief. She knew. And she didn't even try to hide the smirk. I shook my head. "No babysitting," I said. "Not anymore." "Good," she said. "Then come have a life again." I drove home that night feeling something I hadn't in a long time. Anticipation. A good kind. A free kind. Wow, my life doesn't revolve around someone else's chaos anymore. Kind. I wasn't thinking about dating. I wasn't thinking about moving on romantically. But something in me realized. My world was opening back up. My friendships. My career. My confidence. My autonomy. And the next few days proved exactly that. Leah tries one final stunt. A desperate, messy, explosive attempt to pull me back into the chaos. But instead of shaking me, it pushes me forward. Right into the next phase of my life. The part she never expected me to reach without her. Just when my life was starting to look normal again. Peaceful, productive, borderline enjoyable. Leah's family launched one final, nuclear-level attempt to drag me back into their orbit. And this one? This one was big. The kind of big where you stop mid-walk, stare at your phone, and say, "Oh, they've lost their minds." It started on a Thursday afternoon. I had just finished a client call, was making a sandwich, and my phone buzzed with a screenshot from Erin. Bro. You seeing this? It was a Facebook post from Leah's mom. And it read, "Please pray for my daughter. She was abandoned during one of the hardest moments of her life. Some men walk away when a woman needs them most." With a photo of Leah looking tragic on a couch, staring out a window like she was auditioning for a commercial about the dangers of seasonal depression. And the comments? Oh, the comments. Men these days have no loyalty. She'll raise that baby on her own. What a monster, leaving a woman while she's expecting. Expecting. Expecting what? A package? A refund? A personality? Because she sure as hell wasn't expecting a baby. My phone blew up. Erin sent another message. "They're telling people you left her pregnant." I choked on my sandwich so hard I almost descended. I texted back. "She isn't pregnant. WTF. Erin. Do not engage. They want drama." He was right. Leah's family weaponized drama like it was a family business. I ignored it. Not my circus. Not my monkeys. But the universe must have felt like testing me. Because 2 hours later, I got an unexpected visitor. Not at my condo. Not at my door. But at my gym. I was mid-set, headphones on, living my quiet, post-chaos life, when someone tapped my shoulder. I turned. It was Leah's dad. In the gym. In a full suit. Looking like he'd hunted me down with the energy of a man about to deliver a LinkedIn lecture. "Mason," he said, voice low and grave. "We need to talk." Every guy lifting within 5 feet stopped to eavesdrop. I pulled out my earbuds. "What are you doing here?" He exhaled in that disappointed father way that would have been powerful if he hadn't been a total clown. "You abandoned my daughter during the most vulnerable period of her life." "She's not pregnant," I said flat. He blinked. His entire face stuttered. Then, "That's not the point." "That's precisely the point." He crossed his arms. "Her mother is devastated. Her sister is in pieces. Leah can barely sleep. None of that is my responsibility," I said. "She ended the relationship. Not me. You could fix this," he said, leaning closer. "One apology. One gesture of loyalty." "Loyalty to what?" I asked. "The family cult?" A guy 2 benches over choked back a laugh. Leah's dad lowered his voice. "Real men don't walk out over something small." I stepped closer. "Real men don't accept ultimatums." He opened his mouth. Shut it. Opened it again. "Mason," he said, "you're making a mistake you'll regret." "No," I said. "I'm making a boundary you hate." And then, because the universe has a sense of comedic timing, a trainer walked by and said, "Sir, you can't be in here in a suit. Members only." Leah's dad glared at me like I orchestrated the whole thing. Then he left, stiff and defeated. I put my earbuds back in and finished my workout with the satisfaction of a man whose life had stopped being a game of emotional whack-a-mole. But the chaos wasn't quite over. Later that night, I got a text from an unknown number. "Are you proud of yourself? My whole family is falling apart." I sighed. Saved the number. Labeled it, "Do not answer Leah's mom." Ignored it. But then came something I did respond to. A message from Jenna. "Want to grab drinks with us tomorrow? You're fun to have around." Fun. Something I hadn't been called in. God, years. I stared at the message longer than necessary. Then typed back. "Yeah. I'd like that." Friday came. I met Jenna and a few of her friends at a downtown bar. Exposed brick, Edison bulbs, the smell of overpriced cocktails and good decisions. We talked work, music, stupid internet memes. It felt natural. Easy. Normal. At one point, Jenna nudged me and said, "You seem happier lately." I raised my drink. "I am." She smiled. "Good. You deserve that." It wasn't flirty. It wasn't romantic. It was genuine. And I realized something I hadn't let myself think. I was finally living again. Not surviving. Not appeasing. Not babysitting. Just living. The world was starting to shift for me. New opportunities, new friendships, new momentum. But the real, unexpected turning point, the one that changed the story completely, happened the following week. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't chaotic. But it finally closed the door on Leah, and opened another one I never saw coming. Part 8 is where things crystallize. Where the emotional arc comes to a head. Where Leah's family finally hits a wall they can't climb. And where I finally get closure. On my terms. A full month had passed since the ultimatum that detonated my relationship like a cheap firework. The chaos was finally dying down. No more surprise visitors. No more phone calls. No more invented pregnancies. Or so I thought. The final showdown, the one that actually gave me closure, came quietly, in the most anticlimactic setting imaginable. The parking lot of a Trader Joe's. I had just loaded groceries into my trunk when someone called my name. Mason? I turned. It was Leah. No dramatic makeup. No rehearsed speeches. No tears. Just her, in leggings and an oversized hoodie, holding a grocery bag like it contained the meaning of life. She looked tired, not the aesthetic, influencer-style tired she posted online. Actual tired. The kind you get when the performance ends and the audience goes home. We both froze for a second. Hey, she said softly. Hey. I waited for the guilt trip, the emotional blackmail, the family scripted monologue. But none came. Instead, she walked closer, tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, and said something I didn't expect. I'm not pregnant. I snorted before I could stop myself. I'm aware. She winced. My mom blew things out of proportion. Your mom invented a proportion. She gave a small, pained laugh. Yeah, fair. Silence for a moment. Then she said, I owe you an apology. That stopped me. Cold. Do you mean that? I asked. Or is this because your family PR campaign backfired? She shook her head slowly. No. I mean it. I crossed my arms waiting. She took a breath, then finally spoke. I shouldn't have given you that ultimatum. I shouldn't have told you to babysit every weekend. I shouldn't have expected you to fix things that weren't your responsibility. I felt overwhelmed. And instead of dealing with it, I threw it all at you. That wasn't fair. I let that sink in. Because those words? Those weren't Leah's usual vocabulary. That sounded human. She looked down at her shoes. And if I'm being honest, she whispered, I didn't think you'd leave. There it was. She wasn't apologizing for the ultimatum. Not really. She was apologizing for miscalculating. For assuming I would break before she did. For assuming my boundaries were rubber bands she could stretch forever. For assuming she was irreplaceable. I nodded slowly. I didn't want to leave, I said. But you made staying impossible. I know, she said. And your family. I know, she said again, rubbing her forehead. They made it worse. I told them to stop, but they don't listen. I raised an eyebrow. They listened when you said I should babysit. She sighed. Okay, they don't listen unless I'm asking for something stupid. That made me laugh, reluctantly. She smiled, small and sad. I'm not asking you to get back together. I know that ship is gone. Good. Because it wasn't just gone. It was torched, sunk, and rotting at the bottom of the ocean. But, she added, I didn't want things to end on anger. You were good to me. Better than I deserved sometimes. She met my eyes. And I was selfish. I used you without realizing how much. I'm sorry. Not perfect. Not polished. But real enough. And real was all I ever wanted from her. I took a breath. Thank you, I said. She nodded. Blew out a shaky breath. I'm seeing someone new, she admitted. We're taking it slow. No ultimatums this time. Good, I said. I hope it works out. You really mean that? Yeah, I said. I really do. She smiled, a real one this time. Then she hesitated. So, are you seeing anyone? No, I said. Just living. She nodded thoughtfully. That looks good on you. I didn't respond. Didn't need to. She took a step back. Goodbye, Mason. Goodbye, Leah. She walked away without looking back. And unlike all the other times she walked away, this one didn't hurt. Not even a little. For the first time since the whole thing started. I felt finished. Like the last page of a chapter had finally been turned. But the story wasn't over yet. Because as one door closed gently and finally, something else in my life, something new, something promising, was beginning to open. Not into drama. into growth, connection, a life moving forward. And maybe, just maybe, something more. After that Trader Joe's parking lot conversation, something in me settled. Like someone finally tightened the loose bolt rattling inside my chest. No more guilt. No more what-ifs. No more emotional tax. Just a clean, quiet, honest ending. And the very next week? Life didn't just move on. It moved up. It started with Jenna. We'd been working closely together on the freelance project. Long days, late calls, collaborative brainstorming that felt more like creative sparring. She had this way of making a problem feel exciting instead of overwhelming. On a Tuesday afternoon, after we wrapped a design review, she said, "Hey, you want to grab lunch?" My treat. "You've practically rebuilt this client's entire system." I shrugged. "Yeah, sure." We walked to a little cafe down the block, brick walls, hanging plants, a chalkboard menu with items that all sounded like they came from a cookbook written by a friendly grandmother. She ordered a tomato basil soup. I ordered a chicken panini. Normal. Simple. But the conversation wasn't. Halfway through lunch, she put her spoon down, leaned back, and looked at me in this analytical, curious way. "You're different than when I met you," she said. I raised an eyebrow. "Different how?" "More confident," she said. "More relaxed?" "Less tense. You were so tightly wound last year I thought you might actually snap in half." I laughed. "Yeah, well, dating a woman whose family thinks boundaries are war crimes will do that." She smirked. "Well, you're better now. Happier." I shrugged. "I think I'm just, finally breathing." "Good," she said. "You deserve that." That made something warm move in my chest. But that wasn't the moment everything shifted. No, it came at the end of lunch, when we stepped outside into the sunlight and she said casually, "So, I'm hosting a little gathering on Saturday. Nothing wild. Just some people from the studio, some freelancers, some friends. You should come." I hesitated. Not because I didn't want to go, but because it had been so long since I'd gone anywhere social that didn't involve being voluntold to babysit. "Is it, casual?" I asked. She grinned. "Mason, you could show up in sweatpants and no one would care." I nodded. "Yeah. Okay. I'll come." "Good," she said, smiling as she walked backward toward her studio door. "Because I'd be offended if you didn't." Something in her tone lingered in the air. Not flirty. Not heavy. Not loaded. Just warm. Inviting. Human. I realized I hadn't felt that from anyone in a long time. Saturday came faster than I expected. I stood in front of my closet like a man trying to crack a safe. Settled on jeans and a simple button-down. Casual but not sloppy. When I arrived, the place was lit with string lights, music low, clusters of people talking over drinks. Warm energy. Zero tension. Exactly the opposite of every gathering I'd attended with Leah and her family. Jenna spotted me instantly. Her face lit up. Like she was actually glad I was there. "You came," she said, touching my arm briefly, naturally, no hesitation, no awkwardness. I smiled. "Promised I would." She pulled me into her circle, friends, coworkers, a few designers and devs. Within minutes, I was laughing. Actually laughing. Not the polite chuckles I used to do at Leah's family functions. Hours passed without me noticing. At some point, I ended up on the tiny balcony with Jenna. Just the two of us, leaning on the railing, city lights flickering below. She turned to me and said, "You know, you really are different now." "How so?" "You look like someone who finally stopped carrying everyone else's expectations." I exhaled long. "Yeah. Feels like it." She nudged my shoulder. "You know what I think?" I glanced at her. "What?" "I think you finally have space." She paused. "For the right things. The right people." Something in the way she said that made the air shift slightly between us. Not romantic. Not confession level. But something real. A small, warm possibility. One I didn't expect. One I wasn't sure I was ready for. One that didn't scare me. We stood there in comfortable silence for another minute until she said, "I'm glad you came." "Me too," I said. When I drove home that night, the quiet in my car felt different. Not empty. Not lonely. Just spacious. Like my life finally had room for new things. Healthier things. Things that weren't built on guilt, obligation, or ultimatums. For the first time in a long time, the future didn't feel like a dead-end road. It felt open. But before I could fully step into it, there was one more moment I needed. A moment that came unexpectedly the next morning. A moment that sealed everything. My past, my closure, my growth. Into something final. That moment is part 10. And it's the moment that finishes this story completely. The real ending. The final chapter. The full circle. The next morning, I woke up to sunlight cutting across my room, the kind that makes everything look sharper than it is. My phone buzzed, not with drama, not with a family manifesto, but with a single text from Jenna. Coffee? My treat. No work talk. I stared at it for a moment, realizing how rare this was. Not the invitation, but the feeling. No tension. No dread. No emotional debt attached. Just something good. I met her at a quiet cafe on the corner. She was already there, hair up, smiling like the night before actually mattered. We talked. Not about exes. Not about family chaos. About movies, travel, music, dumb childhood stories. The normal human stuff I hadn't tasted in years. At one point, she looked at me over her mug and said, "You seem like someone who finally got his life back." "I did," I said. And I meant it. When we stood to leave, she slipped her hands into her pockets, rocked on her heels, and said, "Let's do this again." And for the first time since the ultimatum that detonated my old life, I felt something warm and easy settle in my chest. A beginning. Not forced. Not rushed. Just possible. As I walked back to my car, I realized something. Leah's ultimatum had never been a punishment. It was a release. She told me to step up or get out. So I got out. And stepped into a better life.